Good evening, everybody. Welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So it's Saturday night. It's time for an episode of What's New. Got a special one tonight. Been waiting for this for a few weeks now. I knew this album was coming out. I had pre-ordered it through the Encore Records that I go to in Kitchener's downtown on King Street. And it came in. I phoned them Friday morning, and it was there. So I went and got it after work. And here we are. Jethro Tull's new album, Curious Remnants. Yeah, sorry, drew a blank there for a second. Wasn't sure what I wanted to say. Anyway, so we're here to review this album today. Well, I don't know if it's much of a review. I'm just going to talk about the album. I will give you the pertinent information on this, but before I do that, I'm going to need to put on the bifocals. Yes, we need that. So this album, actually, I forgot to write one thing in here, and I remembered it as soon as I looked. Okay, so this is their 24th studio album, released March the 7th, which is yesterday. 2025, and curious enough, it's the third one in 4 years after going 19 years without one. So they've been on a roll lately. This is about 50 minutes or 51 minutes in length in that time period, which is a normal amount of time for an album nowadays. Maybe it's a little on the short side. On the Inside Out Music label, or Sony, this is produced by Ian Anderson, of course. So the members of the band, not really a lot of changes here. There's one change really from the previous two albums, but we'll do all of the people for those of you who may not be familiar with this band, which would be odd to me, but it's not necessarily untrue. I did have this album with me when I was talking to a couple of people who had no idea who these people were, which is kind of funny to me. So this is Ian Anderson on flute, vocals, acoustic guitar, tenor guitar, mandolin, and odds and sods, and bits and bobs. Yeah, that's your typical English humor, right? David Gooder on bass, John O'Hara on piano, keys, and accordion, Jack Clark on electric guitar, Scott Hammond on drums, and then you have a couple of extras here, James Duncan on drums, Cajun, and percussion, and Andrew Giddings, of course, on piano, keys, and accordion. So there are a total of 9 tracks on this album. Just going to put it down for a minute. Pretty solid album. Of course, the vocals are nothing like they were back in the 70s and early 80s. And then he tried to continue with that vocal sound into the 90s, but had to change the whole setup of the music because it wasn't building right on this. He was trying to reach that sound he couldn't reach anymore. But these past 3 albums, he's toned the music to fit his voice, which I think is a smart idea and actually a strong idea. This particular album, which is, of course, Curious Remnant, I think I like this one better than the previous album, Rock Folk, which I didn't mind, but it didn't really have any outstanding songs on it for me. It was a solid album, I guess the best way to put it. The previous one before that, I liked the first 4 or 5 tracks a lot, and the back half of the album wasn't so good. But this album, I think, is stronger overall than the past album. So the first track out is Puppets and the Puppet Master. It starts out with a kind of a slow piano and with a flute accompaniment at the beginning. Then you get this kind of heavier, stronger part that builds up the song. The vocals, of course, are more talking than they are actually vocals, which is common now with a lot of his stuff. He can't really sing those high pitched Jethro Tull vocals anymore. Stretched his vocals too much, I think, is probably what happened. Ultimately, a pretty solid song for an opening track. Next track up, Curious Ruminant, which is, of course, the title track. Got a strong opening flute, I think. The vocals, again, very talking like. Guitar, pretty heavy riffing. The solo is quite strong, quite catchy. Piano part with the guitar solo has a kind of a folky feel to it. And I think the production, not only on this song, but on most of the songs on the album, really strong. The next song is Dunsinane Hill. There's Dunsinane Hill, I think. It starts with a flute with some keys. Of course, this is very spoken or voice song, not much vocals here. Folky track. The flute and the bass part are really strong here, and it gets heavier and the drums become a little bit more dominant towards the back half of the song. I like this track quite a bit, actually. So flip over to do the other half of the album. So Tipu House, which is the first track here on this part of it. I like this track a lot. I think it was one of the better tracks on the album. Very up-tempo, faster pace than the previous three songs. A stronger rhythmic section to it as well. The vocals are more singing-like. He's actually attempting to sing more here. I think he does a reasonably good job on this particular track too. Of course, very flute dominant, really catchy, and a catchy beat. So I like this song quite a bit. One of my favorites of the songs on the album. Next up is Savannah of Paddington Green. This is a very British sounding name to the song. Starts with an acoustic guitar part, dominated throughout most of the early part of this track. The vocals are more spoken type. The flute, free flowing, with some accordion parts throughout this particular part. It's got a very folky-like track. Not dominant vocally like, but a pretty strong folky song. Sorry, I got a pop up right in the middle of the screen there. It was an okay song. I didn't mind this one. I gave it a more than a pass. I think it was a reasonably strong song. The next one up, one of the two favorite tracks on the album, Stygian Hand. Heavy flute, guitar riff start. Heavy flute and guitar start here. Sorry, kind of got tangled there a bit. This is a very folky sound with a mandolin sound part to it as well. The vocals are a little bit more folky on this song than probably the earlier tracks, and it comes out very strong on this one. I did like the accordion part quite a bit on the song. So Stygian Hand, probably my second favorite track. The next track, Our Jerusalem, is probably my favorite track on the album. At this point, it's probably the longest of the first 7 tracks as well. Very percussion-like, xylophone style type noise going on here. I'm not sure what the instrument is. Sounds like a xylophone, but more than likely it's a keyboard instrument. Strong guitar parts. The keys are strong throughout. The very rhythmic section, very dominant on this track. Vocals are a bit heavier and stronger, not as spoken, more sung, which is good. An acoustic dominated middle part with a kind of a flute and heavy electric guitar part towards the end of that part. You got catchy beat and parts, nice guitar solo and guitar parts, kind of a heavy flute with a basic and acoustic parts towards the end of it as well. So this is a strong track. I think this is my favorite track. It was the only track I gave an 8 to. So as the album goes along, we'll see if this continues to dominate or something else might take over. Drink from the Same Well. This is easily the longest track on the album. More than 3 times longer than any other track. So it was almost 17 minutes in length. Basically, it's just different sections broken down by different sounds. Very flute dominated song. Lots of folky parts to it, but also there's a little bit of piano throughout the track. So I would say it opens with a heavy flute, very dominant part. Then the flute becomes even more dominant with brief interludes, so that you get these spots where it kind of dies down. You almost think it's over, and then it comes back. It's got some piano parts that I think are very interesting, and throughout the interludes. The vocals don't actually start on this track till about 6.5 minutes into the track, and then it's all spoken vocals, so he's just reciting stuff. The length of the song with many flute-dominated parts. And some, I think it's a little bit folky and catchy parts to it as well. Sorry. I think this song is probably a little bit too long, and it's more an opportunity to kind of meander a bit and kind of go off and do your meandering part where you want to play a lot of instrumentation. Mostly it's a flute dominated track though. So not one of my favorite tracks on the album, but I still thought it was okay. The final track, In Term Sleep, I think this was the only song on the album I didn't really like. I didn't see the point to it. It was just basically a narrative with some musical parts in the background. Really not much of a song. Probably could have done without it. Probably should have ended with the other one. I don't see the point to adding this on, but it's on there, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So overall, I like the album. It didn't cost me an arm and a leg like I thought it might. I thought the album cover was good. And the back cover with him wearing that thing was kind of interesting. It opens up nice. Picture of all him, or picture of each of them wearing kind of different things throughout. But we'll do a little bit more on this when we do the end of the month, when I do my album new albums purchase, because I opened this one for doing it on this video, but it actually is a new album, so it'll go back on the shelf until such a time as I'm ready to do my new stuff. I did order some stuff through Laser CD today. Probably going to cost me a bit of a long arm and leg. Got 5 albums coming. Well, actually, that's not true. I have 3 albums coming, and then I have a box set coming for Frumpy. So I will have, I guess in total, I will have 7 albums there, plus this one, which will make 8. And then whatever I get on my 3rd week trip to Encore, which will probably be mostly used stuff. So could have as many as 10 this month. Well, probably an average month. So anyways, that's it for Jethro Tull's Curious Ruminant, the album that we did today for What's New. I hope you've enjoyed this. We'll be back again next Saturday with another album. I think I've got one that I want to do. It's by the Vapors. I think we'll be doing the new Vapors album next week. That's kind of where I'm leaning, but things may change as new stuff comes up. I got a lot of stuff I'm trying to get through and listen to so I can decide where it fits into what I want to do. So anyways, I hope you like and subscribe. That's much appreciated. And if you want to leave any comments about the Jethro Tull album, their 24th, you can leave those in the comment section below. And let me know if you liked it or you didn't like it, or you think maybe they're done, or maybe you think that they've got some more in them. It's hard to say. I thought it was a solid album. So anyways, take care and have yourself a good evening, and goodbye.